Is this the future of pastured poultry farming? Here at Heifer USA, we are trialing 3 brand new, fully automated ROVA barns made by UKKÖ Robotics. These coops automatically feed, water, and move, all at the push of a button. In this video, we're going to show you everything there is to know about these ROVA barns, including the good and the bad. Stay tuned where we'll show you how UKKÖ Robotics has retrofitted an old schooner into a fully automatic schooner. Let's go. Hey everybody, I'm Sam Noble, the poultry production specialist here at Heifer Ranch, and we've got a little special something to show you today. This here behind me is called a ROVA barn. It is made by UKKÖ Robotics.
We first started building these barns or these types of systems based on when I was trying to raise chickens on pasture. So we started automating some of the aspects, and then in 21 we commercialized the technology and started selling to farms across Canada and the US.
We have teamed up with them to test out their largest model that they've ever made yet.
So we build multiple models at UKKÖ Robotics. The ROVA barn specifically, we have the 200, which is a 200 square foot building, holds about 150 birds, and then we go all the way up to the 700, which holds about 550 broilers. For this special project here at Heifer, we made a larger system just to have the 750 bird in one lot. So we came out with this ROVA barn 900, so it's a 900 square foot building, and it's pretty special to have 3 of these running on the farm at the same time.
So first we're going to talk about everything about this feed hopper that I have here. So this feed hopper's capacity is about 500 pounds. It is waterproof. It is on the outside, so I can easily fill it from the outside. I don't need to step inside over chickens, over feed lines or anything like that. I can just come in here, lift this lid up, and I can see how much feed is in there, check if I need to refill it. And down here at the bottom, you can see where the hopper connects to the auger, and we'll show you guys that in a second on the inside. So this is our water tank. It's an IBC tote, so this has a capacity of 275 gallons. If we ever do need to remove it, it is removable. Over here on the side, you can see there's a shutoff valve, there's an adapter piece right here, there's another shutoff right here, and a water filter. So this is going to be really important so that you want that clean, nice water that's going to be drinkable for the chickens. And then you can see it's plumbed directly into the ROVA barn, and there is a nipple water line that's right in there. So you can see up top in the center here we have an exhaust fan. This is the other side of the exhaust fan. The louvers will open as the exhaust fan turns on. This exhaust fan is a plastic material. It can be controlled by the app on my phone. And you can see the sidewalls on these ROVA barns are a little bit different than what we usually have them as. You can see that this is solid tarp here, and then you can see that there is bird netting sewn into for windows. On the other side of this, we have Velcro flap covers that we can open and close depending on the weather. So that's really nice for us to be able to just control the ventilation, control the airflow. And below the sidewall you can see is the skirting around the bottom. It has a tubing in the middle of it, so it goes all the way around the ROVA barn. And you can actually see really close down on the bottom here, that white stripe right there is actually electrified wire so that we can keep predators out. So that is hooked up to a charger, and so it just pulses an electrical charge every so often to kind of deter any predators from entering. This is the sidewall curtains that I was mentioning earlier, and so this is a motor. So I can operate this motor off of either the remote that I have inside the barn, or I can operate it off of the temperature sensor that's also inside. I can program my app. It'll automatically close by the push of a button from my phone. This control box is powered by our solar panel and the battery bank that we have in our control panel over here. So we'll show you guys that in a second. So this structure can move any direction that you want it to. It can move diagonally, it can move forwards, it can move sideways. And these wheels are a crucial component to the design. They're so cool. There's 2 different types. This wheel is the drive wheel. So there's 2 wheels that drive and 2 wheels that don't drive. This chain here is what propels the wheel forward. This huge cord that you see on the side is what's powering it from the control box up top here. Everything for this is solar powered. It's off-grid energy, which is perfect for our situation. And this is the other wheel that I was talking about that's not powered. So this wheel and the one diagonal across from it is also not powered. When we've had to manually turn the wheels, we have a jack that UKKÖ has given us with these ROVA barns, and so we hook up a impact drill to the top of that jack, and it just jacks that wheel up just high enough off the ground so that I can hook up a massive yellow wrench and turn the wheel. That's probably one of my least favorite parts about these, just because the wheels are so heavy to move. The jack does help a lot, but it just kind of feeds into that extra time of movement, and it is the one thing on here that is not automated. And this is really the heart of the whole coop that we have here. So this is where the solar panel meets the battery bank, it meets the autonomy, and it all works together so that I can control it through a computer or through my phone. These solar panels are not automated, they don't move on their own, but I can swivel them if I need to. So now I'll show you where the battery banks are inside this panel. You can see in here, they've got two massive batteries here that will hold that charge, and it'll use it throughout the day. A hotspot right here up in the corner for Wi-Fi. So we can run a hotspot that I can have control. I can also have a camera on here, and we can show that inside too. And up here is all the fancy inner workings that control every part of the automation inside this barn. And you can see right here, there's a fan that they've installed so that we can keep all this equipment cooled down. And it's weather sealed by this rubber seal that you see here in the door. And so that just keeps all the moisture out anytime it rains, anything like that. So this is the entrance side of the barn. So what's nice about this is that it's got nice big double door entry. I can flip this door open, and I can also open this other side. Now let's come on inside and I can show you all the components. Now that we're inside, you can see here the automatic feed line that I was talking about earlier. This is all controlled and powered by this tiny motor right here. This pan right here will signal this motor to turn on. When this pan goes empty, it's got a sensor right here and it cues that motor to turn on. So this motor is actually programmed to check if there's feed every 15 minutes. When this feed pan is empty, it will turn on and it will run and run and run until this pan is either full or for 5 minutes. It will tell the computer and my app that is out of feed. So I can come down here and check on what's going on. These feed pans are Short Time brand. You can control the amount of feed that's coming out of this bottom. That's what's great about these Short Time feed pans. Not much feed waste. And you can see here on the other end of the barn is where we were showing you on the outside that the auger attaches to the hopper. And this water line is attached to the IBC tote that we were showing you out there. This again is Short Time brand nipple waters. This works like any other nipple water. They peck it and you can see the water dripping down there. And everything's just fully attached. You can see the feed line and the water line in here are hanging by chains, so we don't need to pick up anything and move it. It just all connects together and it all flows and moves together. You have the feed and the water in the center of the barn, so it's easily accessible for the chickens, and I can have easy movement on the sides of the barn. I don't need to step over bars to get to the other door. And this doohickey here is not a microphone. It is actually a temperature sensor and a humidity sensor. So I can, from the app, see what the environment is like inside the barn itself. And then you can see in here, like I was talking about, there's a hotspot here. So I can have this camera here. I can check on the birds throughout the day, throughout the night. I can just rewind it and take a look at, check out my birds. And just from an interior perspective, you can see how high quality of a structure this is. There's a ratchet strap at every part of this curtain here, and there's this large cable right here that just kind of pulls everything together, and so that everything just moves easily and glides nicely across the pasture. So now that you've seen all of the features of this barn and all of the components, in the next part of this video, I'm going to show you what, from a farmer's perspective, what it's actually like using it. So we have been using this since October of 2024. Day one, when we bring the chicks out to the pasture, we have 2 people on the outside handing the crates to the 2 people on the inside. The unloading looks pretty typical in the ROVA barns as we have done them in the past in the schooners. I like that these ROVA barns don't have the bars in the middle of the barn so that we don't have anything to step over, and we have less high knees and exercise that tires you out a lot faster. So it's just really easy to walk straight back, dump the birds out, come back for another crate, dump the birds out, and just a really smooth, fast process. Unloading the chicks into the ROVA barn versus our schooner isn't that much difference, but the real difference is when we're doing our chores. For the feeding and watering of the ROVA barn, it is really easy compared to the schooners. The schooners we had to walk inside and step over bars with heavy 5-gallon buckets. With the ROVA barn, we have the food and water on the outside of the barn. We have the IBC tank. We just pop a hose in there and fill it up until we need to. As for how often I need to fill the water and the feed tanks, basically it just kind of depends on the age of the bird. When they're first brought in at 3 weeks of age, I can go from anywhere from 3 days to 5 days without refilling the food and water. As they get older, closer to now, I'm filling it every other day. I imagine the closer I get to their processing date, we're going to be needing to fill them every day. Now let's get into how we move the barns. So on a normal day, we typically will use the remote and flag the birds forwards. While we're moving it, I can hold the remote in one hand and have the flag in my other hand, and I'll just walk back and forth behind the birds. And once we're fully on the new section of grass, I just let my thumb off of the button and then the ROVA barn stops. All of this is just really easy to move by myself, just one person. Previously, when we were moving the schooners, it took one tractor, one person driving the tractor, and another person flagging the birds forwards in the back. So that was a 2-person job for the same amount of birds. And so I would say that the movement by itself is the most beneficial portion of these ROVA barns. One thing that we have noticed since we have made the transition from the schooners to these ROVA barns is the predator rates. So with these ROVA barns, because they have the strip on the bottom that's electrified, that has greatly reduced our mortality due to predators. Another big difference when it comes to moving these is that the chickens only need to move 20 feet. Mainly we move them sideways, so short ways. So they only need to walk 20 feet versus the 40 feet that we were having to move them when we used to use the prairie schooners. And that's a good thing because the chickens have half as far to walk, especially when they're older and they don't want to walk as far. They're not getting tired out, they're not getting as stressed out. And the faster we can get done with moving them, the faster they can get back to eating, sleeping, and drinking. Another step that saves us a lot of time in labor is not having to unhook the cable from the tractor, drive the tractor to the next schooner, having to hook and unhook water lines and drag heavy water lines across hundreds of feet of pasture. Another benefit is that their large size and just the weight of them, it means that they're not going to blow away with heavy winds. So just a few weeks ago, we have had really high winds where even our staked down schooners picked up in the wind and moved to the side about 10 feet, whereas these big heavy guys did not budge at all. One of the problems that we have faced so far is just having a little bit of moisture getting inside our feed tanks. And so for that instance, we had a lot of packed feed, wet feed, and that was getting hung up in the feed line. So what we had to do for that is just unpin the bottom of the feed hopper where it kind of comes to the cone. We were able to drop the feed line down and we were able to actually just remove the feed onto the ground by hand. Initially, after the barn was built, we tested the water prior to putting chicks into the ROVA barns. And so what we discovered after that point was that there was a lot of leaking nipple water parts and there was a lot of loose parts just within the hose going from the IBC tank to the PVC pipe inside. And so basically for that, we just had to swap out some parts and we had to just tighten everything up. So that's going to be kind of typical when you first install water lines. One thing that we have faced so far is if you are like me and you did not pay attention to where you were driving the ROVA barn, or if the grass is so lush that you don't see a hole in the ground, you may drive the ROVA barn tire into the ground. So that did happen to me. I got the ROVA barn stuck and it would absolutely not move using the remote, using the drive of the ROVA barn. In that case, UKKÖ has designed a really good backup plan. You just need to hook up the cable to the jack stand on the ROVA Barn, on each wheel has one. It was really easy for me to hook that up and pull it out with a tractor. One thing to consider is your terrain in your pasture. These ROVA barns can drive up to a 7-degree incline, and so when you're thinking about purchasing these barns, you need to really consider if your pasture has any of that where the barn may need to drive. And so personally, we have not had any hills to go over yet. With having a fully automated barn with the app and with a lot of the controllers that we have, there is a lot of technology in here. I'm not super tech savvy, so it did take a little bit of a learning curve, but UKKÖ has been really responsive when we have had issues.
Technical support is a big part of what we do. If you have a feed motor problem, there's a QR code that you can scan and it brings you to online resources. And there's a few of those all around the unit where we think that it's more prone to issues. Secondly, it's just to contact us on our web form, and then one of our team members is going to reach out pretty much immediately. So we're actually able to connect right into your unit remotely, and we're able to see from our end what's going on, and then from there we can actually give you solutions or even put a patch software to get you by.
Because we're the first to try out a barn of this size, we are now seeing some structural issues because the barn itself is so long. There has been some sagging in the center. UKKÖ is working now to reinforce the structure itself so that hopefully in the future we won't have that issue. Some things that I may just tweak to the design of these ROVA barns is the tarps on the top of the barns are white on the outside and the inside. And so personally in the Arkansas heat, I really like to have a lot of shade for the chickens. So I may just string up some black tarp inside the barn through the trusses just to kind of give those chickens some extra shade away from the heat. Not only is UKKÖ Robotics making fully autonomous barns like these, they're also making conversion kits for schooners like we have. Our friends at Falling Sky Farm have installed several of these conversion kits, and we recently went to go visit Andrea to see what her experience is like. Today we're at Falling Sky Farm with Andrea Todd, and so Andrea, do you want to tell us what we're doing here?
Yeah, so you all came out to see our retrofitted schooners. We worked with UKKÖ Robotics to come up with, it's called a backpack system to go on the schooners that we had already. You want to go check them out?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, so it's got an automated feed line. It also has solar powered wheels to move itself. We have a remote on each pen and we can move them by hand with one person as opposed to having the tractor pulling and then having someone pushing the birds. So these are the first 7 pens that we've set up like this. We have 11 total that we're going to do with the backpack system. The plan is that this is going to greatly reduce the amount of wear and tear on the tractor, a lot more sustainably because it's solar operated instead of fuel operated. The idea is we'll be able to do, one person can come out here and easily check and move 7 pens at a time without having to have 2 people for all of it. They move relatively slowly. We'll be able to start all of them and then one person can kind of walk along and check feed and water and everything while they're moving. So the folks that helped us design this from UKKÖ Robotics did add quite a bit of structure to support the heavy components. This bar they added, and this bar they added. There's another bar up there that helps support the solar panel and the top of the feed bin assembly. Most of the weight is obviously the feed bin, but drive shaft and that piece of it is definitely not something I want to carry around. This is what pushes the pen or pulls the pen. So there's a cable that connects to the battery bank and connects to the motor that drives the wheels. This has a system where you can jack it up right here. You can expand this space to put more weight onto the tires. And this operates with a socket, and an impact is the easiest way to do it. There are also jacks on the front of the pen with wheels. They are not connected to power at all. They're just passive. You jack them up if you need more weight off of the ground and on the wheels to push it. There is no real turning capacity. You can adjust the jacks a little bit to help, but if you really need to make a big turn, then you got to hook the tractor up. We're certainly trying to be more efficient with our time and labor. It turns the people that are doing chores a little more into technicians, making sure that everything's working right instead of just grunt labor carrying buckets of feed around. It's changing the job a little bit. I don't have a plan to like greatly reduce the amount of help that I have, but I do want us to be able to all have a little bit better quality of life and not have to spend so much of our time hauling feed buckets around. This was a custom build. We worked with the folks at UKKÖ Robotics, and so if you're interested in doing something like this, then I would definitely recommend that you reach out to them and see if what you have that you want to do is something that they can help with.
Thank you, Andrea, for showing us around to your new retrofitted schooners. This has been really cool to see.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming.
Obviously, these ROVA barns are a big investment for a farm. At Heifer USA, we are researching a lot of new products so that you don't have to. So you can make the best decision for you and your farm without the trial and error. I hope you found this information valuable, and if you have, please subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can keep getting value for your farming journey. If you've enjoyed this video about automated chicken schooners, then watch this video next, where the folks at Pasture have made their own automated schooners that makes ours look tiny.